Good morning, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Thailand Focus 2018. I'm Sinida Petwirakul, and this morning we'll start the first session with Smart Cities and Internet of Things by Dr. Pichet Durongkaveroj, Minister of Digital Economy and Society. Dr. Pichet received his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, University of New South Wales, Sydney, Master of Engineering Science in Applied Solar Energy, Trinity University, Texas, and PhD in Public Policy and Management, Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Pichet has assumed his position as Minister of Digital Economy and Society since December 2016. And he has contributed to his country the design, formulation, and implementation of major national policies, including science and technology, innovation, ICT, e-commerce, and education. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome Dr. Pichet on the stage, please.
Thank you, and good morning, distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, SET, for inviting me to this very prestigious event of the year. I was reading newspaper this morning about what has been said by the Deputy Prime Minister, and so this morning I spent about an hour at Starbucks trying to adjust my PowerPoint accordingly. I would say I might be, it's possible that I might be a startup minister working in co-working space for new public policies. So this morning I would like to spend a good hour that I'm offered to inform you about what we are doing and what will be done, and at the same time to make sure that the private sector would understand the role that private sector can contribute in the making of Thailand 4.0, for which digital economy plays a large part, as the Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Somkit, has mentioned yesterday. As you know, the whole world is going through a lot of changes, especially in digital technology, and you see a lot of disruption everywhere. The major part is caused by digital. I know that we look into opportunities provided by digital. However, we also have to look at the shadow that it will, we have to encounter as well. But I'll leave the shadow for you to work it out into light. But at this time, I think it's challenging, and it's the time that we have to transform, and in digital terms, as quickly as possible, because it waits no one. I still remember Bill Gates was telling the world maybe 20, 30 years ago about economy of speed. And I recognize that this is real. And today is something that we have to realize what we need to do, especially to synergize public and private together in order to raise or elevate the level of Thailand or transform Thailand into another level. This is the goal, and this is key. Without partnership, I don't think we can go anywhere, or we can go far. So let me start off by giving you a very big picture of why we are doing all this, especially for the past few years. And the reason is because we take note of the fact that digital technology can both play the digital divide role, or digital opportunity, or digital bridge role. We need to make a decision what we want to do. So I think the first item, especially in Thai context, that we need to recognize is that it's about time that we will deploy digital technology in order to reduce the disparity in the society. If villages, if the regional development can be improved and can move along with macroeconomy, I think Thailand has a chance to grow in a very stable and sustainable way. In reverse, we see a lot of large companies are now taking very seriously transformation or changes and has been introducing a lot of digital inputs into their operations and into their business. That is not worrisome. The worry is the gaps will be wider and wider, and Thailand will still get stuck into the problem of the rich and the poor. Bangkok and the outskirts in other provinces. And the notion that we will be able to move along with our neighboring countries will be very remote indeed. So number one, I think reduce disparity is key. Number two, of course, digital technology also can bring us a lot of wealth in a digital way. Today, the mobile subscription in Thailand is about 160% of the population. So the Thai society has very high absorptive capability in digital technology. And at the same time, we know that the Thai consumers consume not only the physical thing, but also the online things very seriously. It has been said that Thailand is one of the top countries in spending time online, about 5 hours per day. I don't know about you, but you better look after your kids well, especially at night when you think they are going to bed. However, we also need to look into the opportunity in terms of the efficiency. In digital terms, we sometimes talk about broadband network. It's going well for Thailand. I will tell you a little bit later what we are doing today in order to make sure that broadband technologies reach to those that need to use them in the near future. My biggest concern is the third one, the workforce. We are talking about 67 million people in Thailand. And in my thinking, more or less, everyone in Thailand needs to have some understanding, at least of basic digital technology and how to make use for their living, how to make use for their income generation, and how to make use in terms of their lifestyle. At the same time, we must talk about universities adjusting themselves so that the students and the graduates can be up to date so that they can be the future workforce that you people can make use most effectively. It's also the digital workforce of upgrading the existing workforce. Many factories that I have visited, I noticed that in the not too far future, the nature of the workforce will be changed in some cluster very drastically. Many factories in the near future, will be highly automated for good reasons, for cost cutting, for precision, so small that human cannot take care of the production anymore. So it's upon us to work out how we can transform the legacy workforce or workforce of today into the workforce of tomorrow. This is going to be a big, big social issue of how how to make sure that the legacy workforce would not be left behind. Okay, this is a big issue. We can talk about it later. So it's these three pillars that I think have been guiding digital economy Thailand into the future. And what our ministry has been doing is to try to embed functions that align with all these three pillars, so that after the election, if I may, things will continue. This is crucial. Okay? So don't leave it to just politicians. You guys are the owner of the country. So make sure, if it's a good thing, make sure it continues. This is upon the three pillars. I think there are 5 strategic, if I can say, actions that we have been doing all along, especially for the past 2 years. And it's these 4 that I think will be the jigsaws that once you piece it together, you see, at least loosely, how Thailand is moving forward. You cannot make sure that we have a good digital economy if you don't have good infrastructure. Similar to roads, bridges, canals, airports, seaports, digital connectivity is highly important. I'll talk about it in details after this. Secondly, manpower, I have said. And this is fundamental. We need to really work together in order to get our people up and running. Number 3 is, in many areas, we need to be more innovative. We need to invest more in the knowledge of digital technology. We need to be owner of some digital technologies so that we can expand without having to spend too much time learning technologies from foreign countries. And technology transfer is not that easy. We have known this for many, many years now. This is something that we have to invest, and we have to have the courage to work out some of the technologies ourselves. Number 4 would be cybersecurity. I'm sure everyone in this room understands and recognize the fact that we need to do it as soon as possible so that we are well protected from future attacks. And we have many examples for the past few years. Last but not least, how to make our government more efficient, more open, more transparent. And digital means is one of the ways to make it happen. Other than that, there are some other things like big data that can make the government more evidence-based in whatever public policy that they want to implement. So it's these 5 strategies that we are doing. I have not been planning for the past 2 years because I think it's more important for me at this juncture to implement rather than to plan. We have been planning for so long. It's about time to start doing something. So let me start off by infrastructure. As I mentioned at the outset, communities are our goals. And in Thailand, we have about 75,000 villages. How to make sure that they are not left behind digitally. And in telecommunications, we always play around with 3 words: availability, accessibility, and affordability. We'll make sure that all the 3 words are taken care of so that villagers, no matter where they are, up in the hill, places where hard to get to, we'll be able to enjoy the same thing that the Bangkok people are enjoying. So right now in Thailand, we have about 2/3 of the villages that are fully covered by high-speed internet. and telecommunications network through fiber optics. The rest, about 15,000 villages, will be covered. If not the end of this year, will be early next year. And together, our digital ministry and the National Broadcasting and Telecom Commission are working so that we will fulfill that destination. More importantly, we will make sure that all schools and local hospitals will have access to broadband also. And the reason I say broadband is because at the village level, we are talking about 30 megabits per second, not just a slow speed internet for remote villages, no more. Everything equal. We are doing two things to make sure it will happen. One is to apply open access policy so that the superhighway, this wonderful fiber optics, once they reach each village, each provider, whoever they are, can hook up to that access point and provide service to households, to SMEs, to shops, and so on. So this will make sure that the highways are well used. And at the same time, TOT is under the digital ministry. We have been talking about the affordability issue. And I understand very well the market force, so I don't intervene. However, when looking at the gas price, I recognize that there can be some similarity between gas and telephone or internet. So what has been happening is that we are asking TOT to lead the way so that they will reduce the internet cost so that the villagers will be able to afford. For example, at the moment, they are talking about this 30 megabit speed downlink and 10 megabit speed uplink at the price of 349 baht per month. I'm sorry about your monthly payment in Bangkok. $6.99, $5.99 you're paying. We have to make sure that villagers will be able to enjoy internet as well, but they cannot afford the similar price as in Bangkok. However, this is not a regulation, okay? So it's more collaboration, okay? That's one question. Our ministry provides highway. How can we make sure that the highway will be best used by the villagers or by the consumers? This is one of the examples. And I think it's very powerful because we have been doing village e-commerce at the pilot level for 200 villages today. And we feel that it is very possible for villagers to be able to conduct their own online trading. As you know, in Thailand, we have a large number of OTOP products, okay? Put it very simply, how villagers can sell their OTOP products globally. Internet can help them. And the Thailand Postal Service is also under my ministry. So once we set up the package so that they can do it themselves, we find that just a few days of intensive training, the villagers will be able to do their own e-commerce trading. And they're very happy because, they don't know where these orders come from. Sometimes it's from foreign countries. It's something that never happened to them before. They always have difficulty before e-commerce with regard to where the markets are, how the payment system will secure their income, and how logistically the delivery of the products will be able for them to do. now through e-commerce system is not a problem at all. Market is in front of them, computer screen, because there's a software, there's a portal, e-payment, so many choices to do today. And I advise the postal service to still keep COD because some buyers in Thailand still want to exchange products and cash. But all the electronic forms are already in place. And logistically, today we see many carriers, and we have no problem at all, especially in fast delivery. So this is done. It's just a matter of expansion that we are waiting at the moment. The other type of digital infrastructure is international linkage and submarine cable. Apart from the satellite linkage and land linkage, we also have submarine cables. And today we are trying to position ourselves so that Thailand would be sort of the hub of the sub-region. Okay? The two photos that you see is very important. Last week, 600 people from the Chinese delegation visited Thailand as well as EEC. And we took them to Sriracha. Well, you know where it is. We took them to Sriracha to see where the big submarine cable line came up. And we already have a MOU with one of the companies. In order to build a new one, is the red one from Thailand to Hong Kong. This is just an example because strategically, Dr. Somkit has talked about it yesterday, about many regional groupings and partnership. We are talking here about how Thailand can position itself with regard to the BRI, or the One Belt, One Road, in the near future. This is also another very good example. It's already on. TOT, a few years ago, has invested in this long route of submarine cable. Submarine cable throughout the world is mostly operated under the consortium type, okay? And in this AAE1 route, from Asia to South Asia, to Africa and Middle East, and then to Europe. The good thing is, you know, to be able to join the consortium, you have to bid. You have to bid. And we bid so that we can be part of the main line. Okay? Not the soy. The soy is easy. The small lane is easy, but the main line is very difficult. This is Thai innovation, okay? At one point, we were talking about competing with our neighboring country in order to make sure that it linked through the Andaman and the Gulf of Siam, okay? The innovation is that our proposal is that we can shorten the distance instead of coming down. We will have a land bridge from Satoon to Songkhla, a land bridge, digital land bridge, okay? Very well accepted, and that's why we are now having this AAE1 submarine cable line. So there are still a lot of opportunities for us in this game. Many of you may wonder about the soft infrastructure. There are a number of legal infrastructure that we are trying to finish up this year, ranging from electronic transactions law, electronic signature, built-in. Data protection law has now passed the cabinet and is on its way to the Legislative Council. Cybersecurity law, so that we have an instrument to protect especially large clusters that are highly computerized. Spectrum allocation law by NBTC, even to venture into the future of space. Now, many countries are talking about the space development. We are now developing a law on space economy. And last but not least, we are working with the private sector in order to set up something similar to FTI. We now call it Digital Council. Okay, so that there's a voice of the digital groups in Thailand. Let me just mention very briefly about data protection law. If you notice, Europe as well as APEC have been very forefront about data protection. And in the near future, we will be able to understand it better that we need to be able to, especially those of you in the businesses where you have foreign clients and their data are in your hand. You please study this law, especially the issue about consent, very important today. Easy consent, not the consent at the tail end of the contract where people never read. Okay? It becomes an issue, as well as a very clear and concise and definite objectives of what you are going to use the data for. Outside of those declared objectives, you are prone to get into trouble. Okay? And this is all legal. In Europe, it's a law called GDPR. Okay? So please take a look at those laws. It's important for business. Manpower, just a few things to tell you. And with regard to the village internet or Net Pracharat, we are starting now to provide very basic digital lessons to villagers. We have accomplished about a little bit over 100,000 villages. Our target for this year is 1 million. Okay? And we cannot do it alone, so we are working with many partners, especially the informal education department, the Kosono, because they speak the same language as the villagers. You know, we cannot do that as well. At the same time, we are trying to make full use of digital technology itself to empower our citizens for learning purpose. This program is called Coding Thailand, and Coding Thailand is to make sure that we have the best of the best content in this kind of gadgets or in your notepad, because it's 24/7, unlike classrooms. Okay, you shut down classrooms. Okay, Saturday, Sunday, you don't have classrooms. And at the same time, I can be very flexible. Today, I have Microsoft, I have Google, I have Cisco in my Coding Thailand, providing the best coding lessons for the kids of Thailand. And we can do more. Later on, we will be able to do some other thing like smart farmers, smart SMEs, all the good knowledge that will be very useful, will be built in, will be very flexible, and reachable anywhere. The notion of anywhere, anytime will be used here. Last but not least, with regard to startups, and I'm sure you understand now the power of startups as the newcomers or the new economic platform, if I may. We have been trying to promote startup for the past 3 to 4 years with some success. But if I can say, we are now entering the second phase. We have to do more and fill the gaps where it's needed. For example, we need to work public and private together in order to create more and more ecosystem for startup development. Many startups have bright ideas, very creative, but they don't know where to go. They only have small coffee shops as their ecosystem. Okay? So incubation is very important. Accelerator for developing these young guys is very important. We also need to look more into the financing of startups. We noticed that some of the near success startups always fly to other countries to get money. How? Well, it seems like we have enough money in the venture capital system. We may need to inject more money into the angel funding system, the entry level. If we have expansion of the entry level throughout the country, we'll be able to select the 5% success cases that we always mention. With a larger pool, that would make it more meaningful and more significant. Otherwise, we are going to be dealing with just small groups, and 5% of small group may not be as significant as we want. But government cannot do it alone. Government tries to provide tax incentives, tries to iron out the legal bottlenecks, but it's the private sector that need to come up and work on the business side, the investment side, the support side. Example of Korea is very enlightened. There were, about 5 years ago, 5 major shareable companies, each of which sponsor one big startup ecosystem in their provinces, including POSCO. And they can focus or concentrate their startups in the area of their industries. If we can do this, it will be faster. So we have many big businesses in Thailand now. I hope we'll be able to reach that point. But while we're waiting, we are now planning on a big startup area-based system. We know there are many startups in many provinces, especially in Bangkok. But we are thinking about designing something similar to Cyberport in Hong Kong. A large ecosystem whereby startups for Hong Kong is mostly fintech, obviously. But for Thailand, we still have a lot of opportunities on other clusters of startup. We should have more food and agriculture startups. We can have more startup in medical fields, in tourism, in cultural, in heritage business, and so on. So this is something that we need to build up our competitiveness through the startup system. And in the near future, if we can do it fast enough, we'll have a big ecosystem for startups, for venture capital people, for those who are interested in new creativity, and especially the deep tech startups. We need to get involved those universities who have a lot of prototypes on their shelves to bring those prototypes and challenge the startups to do more. Even in my ministry, I was asking the Weather Bureau the other day that, please release your weather data. It's huge, and it can be very useful for public health. It can be very useful for agriculture, and so on. And I challenge the startups, do something with this big data. If we can do more of this, and government agencies release their data that are not personal, then startups will have what I try to call demand-side startups. Sometimes, startups spend years dreaming up things, sometimes unrealistic, okay? But we have so many demands, especially in private sector. Why don't we set up these demands as criteria and challenge startups to work on this demand, on these market opportunities? Okay. So it's going to be designed and done very soon. This is something that we want to last. Many of the public policies, after a while, it fades away. But this is in compliance to what Dr. Somkit is trying to design and establish EEC. So our ministry designed digital park at the heart of EEC so that it can last and it will be the development center in many areas that we have been talking about digital development today, ranging from IoT. And IoT can be very meaningful for Thailand, the fact that this is Sriracha. In the future, when we have high-speed train, it may take less than half an hour from Bangkok. So to travel here in the future is not much of a problem. It's a livable community. We will try to make it smart city soon. But at the same time, we have those Lam Chabang, Map Taput, a lot of manufacturing facilities that need to modernize or need to expand according to the S-curves, whatever they are. IoT is one case in point. If we can develop IoT technologies, a lot of sensors involved, a lot of connectedness involved, there's no reason why we cannot be a big player in future automobiles, for example. We know that EV is coming, and EV will be connected cars in principle. IoT will be very useful. We have done this to some provinces, which I can tell you later what the results are. As I mentioned, the startup incubation initially will be planned here as well in one of the areas in the digital park. Digital park at the moment has about 830 rai, about almost 300 acres. So we can do a lot more. We don't need big space because, you know, digital technology sometimes is a lot of brain power, software development, unlike the manufacturing thing. We would also have an area to play around with innovation in cybersecurity, in big data. A large number of data centers will be around Chonburi. At the moment, there are a few big ones already. We will also have an area to develop digital enterprise as well as animation industry, which Thailand can be very good. At the moment, we even have some Thai companies working to serve Hollywood, especially in post-production, animation, and so on. And the 3D design, many big companies are now talking to us about the possibility of investing or co-investing in this area, as well as a smart city platform, and we will start this year on the 5G testbed, knowing that in 2020, 5G will be starting to commercialize. And to get prepared to test it with a lot of applications will be very useful in the near future. Some of you may wonder, you know, it will take time to construct a lot of things here and the buildings. Well, we are trying to find a way out in order to proceed with what we can do today. And one of the things that we are discussing, and I think we can start working, is nearby there's a campus of Kasetsart University Sriracha with a number of new buildings. And we are now working with them so that we can do some of the items here in that campus, the one on the top left corner. So that is going to take a lot of involvement with the public and private. It is now one of the flagships of EEC projects. And we are paving the way for easy rental, as well as the smart visa, and the fact that we can do a joint venture together, or even the purely investment from the private sector. This is the IoT Institute. It's the first building because we recognize the fact that for digital park to happen sooner than later, we need to invest so that the business people will see that the government is fully committed. So this will be our first building, starting to build early next year. Okay. On cybersecurity, let me just mention that it's something that major sectors need to be aware, especially the banking and the financial sector. You need to protect yourself. Nothing better than developing a team, big or small, called CERT team, Computer Emergency Response Team. Please do it. Please don't wait for attacks to come and you do it later. No, please do it. So from the government side, apart from the Prime Minister chairing the National Cybersecurity Committee, we now have identified 6 sectors that will be the priority sectors to protect. And here we need collaboration between the public and private sector. And that includes the financial sector, seems to be the strongest so far. However, is the one that has been attacked more than other sectors. As well as telecommunication, transport, energy, public health, and government. And I also would encourage you to look into our ministry's function on ASEAN-Japan cybersecurity training. We have been assigned by ASEAN to host this training center, and the training will start next month continuously. We will also have the cyber warfare drill sometime next year so that we can get prepared for, sounds like military, but it's probably no less important than the military exercise. With regard to paperless and cashless, this is one of the fastest growing activities in Thailand, especially cashless. We now see the power of prompt pay, of QR code, and in the near future, the launching of the national ID for identity. All of this is to facilitate the society for better cash to cashless. And there will be more, especially in terms of ease of doing business. Many agencies are now working together to clear up not only the workflow, but also the regulations. You must understand that it has been many decades that agencies own the data. So for them to release the data is not something simple, okay? So God help me. I think this is the fundamental challenge. Technology is quite easy, it's the mindset and the ownership. But we are trying. Within these few months, I have been assigned to work on a roadmap to create the so-called paperless government. Not easy, so wish me luck. Big data is also what the Prime Minister wants every ministry to set and make use. And now more and more ministries are getting up. Even the Justice Ministry is now working a lot on big data, because now they can see the power of data analytics to work out the justice system. Public health has been doing a lot. Tourism industry benefits from big data a lot as well. Again, this is something that we will be doing more and more, and lately we will be establishing an entity to provide services to government agencies for big data. We also have a big data sandbox office at Cat Telecom at Bangkok, behind the central postal office, and that will be we will facilitate all the necessary equipment for big data and data analytics for government sector to make use before they decide to invest, because we feel that there will be a lot of redundancy in investing these facilities. So that will help also. By the way, the ranking has been quite impressive, especially the World Bank Ease of Doing Business. Last year, we jumped from number 46 to 26. So if we can do more and more, we'll get better and better. And ease of doing business will make sure that business will be fully facilitated and with more efficient operations from the government. Last but not least, let me finish up, since the highlight is on smart city and IoT. But I think we need to look at the big picture all the time and not lose sight of the direction, especially of the 5 strategic directions together. Smart city is just one of them. But it highlights the fact that if we can do more in providing services to the citizens of each province, to do more in providing facilitation to businesses in whatever province, then each province will be able to move by themselves. You don't need to move the whole country or the whole government all the time, which is quite a difficult task. To date, we are talking about 7 provinces under the design. Some are moving very fast, some are still designing it, but something good are happening. 7 provinces consist of Phuket Island, Rayong, Chonburi, Chiang Mai, Khon Kaen, and EEC, including Bangkok. Okay? I'll show you some examples of Phuket Island. Okay? But if you talk internationally, okay, one can see that through the 17 items of SDG, you can do a lot of digital. I was giving a talk to SCAP yesterday and highlight the fact that digital plays a large part in the SDG goals, one of which has to do with sustainable cities and communities. So that brings us to the question of how do you define smart city? It can mean different things for different provinces. It can also mean livable city, green city, very intelligent city. But the bottom line is people must be happier. Okay? Not just equipping them with a lot of technologies and they frown all day. So in this regard, there are a number of things that during the design of smart city, if some of you can be involved in the near future, we are talking about trying to reduce the problems of urbanization. We are talking about the decentralization, the digital technology for many applications, how to deploy strategies, smart cities, so that it would provide more inclusiveness in the society or in the province, to help with the congestion problem, with the pollution problem, as well as for the security problem and so on. So you can do a lot of things. Similar to what we do in the village e-commerce, we noticed that many of the families who are conducting e-commerce through this rural internet appear to make use of their sons and daughters or nephews to help them. And we have a vision that in the future, once digital economy is spread out to other regions of the country, we'll be able to reduce the problem of urbanization because these people can make money in their own home. There'll be better family and better employment in their own space. Now, with regard to Asia, ASEAN, early this year, Singapore has been and is still the chairman of ASEAN. And they have asked all 10 countries to nominate smart cities, 3 smart cities per country, so that they can connect in the future. But next year, Thailand will be the chairman of the ASEAN. So we'll continue this activity. For Thailand, we have nominated 3 provinces, including Bangkok, Chonburi, and Phuket. Okay. Now, in the old days, we talk about sister cities, but I'm pretty sure in the future, they'll be talking about sister smart cities also. And normally, when one talks about smart city, the investment can lie on 6 directions. covering smart economy, smart living, smart people, smart governance, smart energy environment, as well as smart mobility. So pick one. Many governors ask me, well, do I have to do all 6? I said, go back to your province and declare what you need in your province and do according to your needs. That would be probably the best way. So in the future, 77 provinces of Thailand can be showcases of different kind of smartness in their cities. We have a committee, a high-level committee working on this smart city. We also have many possible ventures that can invite the business and the private sector to join us in the future. Data center, CCTV system, IoT system, free Wi-Fi, and so on. Okay? But to be sure we understand all this, well, this is also, I think BOI has now recognized smart city is one of the items that you can enjoy the investment privilege as well. Okay, so please look at the details. And at the same time, more and more government funding on smart cities by many ministries on the way. Okay. And now we have assembled a number of, especially companies, apart from government agencies, to work together. Some are equipment providers, some are service providers, some are connectivity platforms, and so on. So this is going on with huge number of contributors. Last but not least, give you one quick example. Phuket has been doing very well in smart city. About 3-4 years ago, we worked with local government, local business, and university people in many interesting projects. Good news is that after a few years, the business people in Phuket start to recognize that this is so useful, not only to their businesses, but also to Phuket itself. And they start thinking about a sustainable Phuket, because they now have encountered a number of problems: garbage problem, pollution problem, accident problem, crime problem, and so on. So they are looking for new ways to attack these problems, and at the same time still enjoying good tourism, quality tourism. Okay? So they have set up a company called PKCD, Phuket City Development. And they have been doing a number of things. Cat Telecom, in working with them as well as the government, is now providing free Wi-Fi for most of the tourist attractions in Phuket, so that we can draw the pleasant and very satisfying tourists once they come to the island. This has been going well, and I have been encouraging Cat Telecom to work with platform companies in order to do this for other tourism hotspots throughout the country, without having to spend any money or any budget from the government itself, because it can be self-funded, if you think about it, okay? Basically through online advertisement. Okay, so this is going quite well and very well received by the tourists. In fact, we also have another scheme whereby once the tourists arrive Phuket Airport, they are provided with a wristband. And this wristband can do a number of things. If they travel, with their consent, of course, they can be located. Whenever they have accident, we can locate them. They can also use this as the online buying also, okay? Or even for transport. The PKCD last year has used big data to analyze what the hell is going on with a lot of traffic accidents and congestion, especially in the eastern part of the island that enter the Ampere Mueang. And a lot of time, as we have experienced, you have to climb the hill to go to Patong, and a lot of accidents there. And they found that theoretically there can be better ways. So instead of from the airport going east, if they can provide good transportation to the western side of the island where most of the beaches are, that would reduce all these problems. So now they have a program called Smart Bus, and they have purchased 10 very smart buses to provide service for the western part. They're losing money at the moment, but in the long run, it should be better off for all parties concerned. They also have done a number of things with regard to e-business, and they have successfully asked their fellow businessmen to join force in providing sort of a one-stop portal called Chup.me, Chup.me. Chup is a Phuket language, for those of you who are familiar. And at the same time, to have a very good roadmap of where they're going. So it's going quite well, and I think it will be one of our early model cities to look into. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have 21 seconds left. Let me reiterate that Thailand is moving. Thailand is transforming. And with the good collaboration between public and private, we can do it not only in a very significant way, but very fast also. Digital is very fast. It took us only 1 year to install fiber optics to 24,700 villages. Just 1 year, okay? And, you know, if we can hurry up in making sure that our workforce is more capable, our graduates are digitally literate and very capable, then I think we can move every sector, not just digital sector. We can move every sector in a very meaningful way. So infrastructure in place, both hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure, manpower at all levels, digital technology development and applications, including startups, how to promote them, enhance them, facilitate them, fence ourselves with cyber security system, and at the same time, government do more in making sure that it becomes a more open government, more transparent government, more efficient government through big data and through workflow for ease of doing business. I think if we can do all this, and I was telling my staff that this should be done in 2018. They don't want to meet with me very often because I have been a slave driver unknowingly. But if we can plant the seeds of these 5 elements as soon as possible, then there's a good chance that Thailand can fly. Thailand can escalate to another level. It's the kind of language that we must be talking today. Not talking about old problems, but talking about opportunities. So I think Thailand must have hope, high hope, that we are moving up the ladder, that while moving up, we make sure that it's sustainable, it's inclusive, and at the same time, we can master our own destination. We must have hope. We must have ability to provide opportunities to our kids, to the younger generation. This is the time. Don't wait for next year. This is the time. Do it now in whatever capacity that you are. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for a comprehensive and insightful session, and that was Smart Cities and Internet of Things by Dr. Pichet Durongkaveroj, Minister of Digital Economy.